Welcome, Ram. Thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Welcome to 1 Minute of Minds. Here, we will document the entrepreneurial journeys of a lot of our entrepreneurs, including mine. And I want to make sure our viewers get a taste for entrepreneurs in different stages of the career, right? So I've done a few serial businesses. Some of them have gone well, some of them have not. So I want to be able to capture that and provide that feedback to our audience. I've talked to other entrepreneurs who are considered mature entrepreneurs who've taken the business to a 7, 8 figure, and then they are moving forward. And there's some other entrepreneurs who start in early in their career, right? And this whole thing is designed for me to say, okay, what would I tell my 20-year-old self when I was graduating from engineering college or back in India, right? So our focus audience is audience in India. So that's where this whole thing is going to go. It's going to be, we're not going to have a lot of marketing sales jargon. This is going to be reality. This is going to be straight from the heart, because I want people, entrepreneurs who are smart, know that there's a lot of coaches and influencers promising them a lot of things that are not within the realm of possibility. So I want to keep this real and make sure they know what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. So saying that, I want to give a little bit of introduction about Ram. I've known him for about 23 years now. We went to undergraduation together in Anna University, did a chemical engineering. Then we moved here to do a master's. Ram has an MBA from a prestigious school in Chicago, Booth School of Business. And he's a loving father of two boys, and recently started a fintech business, Kinetic.
Yes,
I'm going to
Kinetic.
fix it.
Mhm.
And just want to let everybody know I'm a customer, and it's been very useful tool for me, because I'm not somebody who keeps a close eye on my 401k and making adjustment. I get an email every time Ram software does the update. It's been a game changer for me. So without any further ado, Ram, can you give us a little bit of background about you and how you became an entrepreneur, please?
Yeah, thank you, Rajni. Nice to be here. Um, my journey for entrepreneurship is not normal that a lot of people have taken. Some are straight out of college, some probably in college, or somebody who's never been to college. Most of the entrepreneurship starts young. Mine actually started when I turned 40. So I'm 43, just turned 44 a couple of weeks ago. Um, so it's kind of different for me. And some of the things that drove me towards entrepreneurship is because of some of the successes that I've had in my life. For example, some of the companies that I have worked have made me to do things at a level where it requires an entrepreneurship. So, for example, I was a chemical engineer, as you just said. I was working in the line. I worked in the semiconductor industry. I was managing a plasma edge, which is gases and things like that. But I saw things like we had heavy machinery, right? Multi-million-dollar equipment in semiconductor equipment and all that. And in our facility, we did have a sparse management system for parts. So sometimes the machine would go down, we would need a new part, and we need to go get that part, and the part's not there. And then we have to order, wait, and all that, right? So we didn't have the ERP systems were there everywhere, but my company didn't do that. So I asked my manager, hey, can I write an ERP system for it, right? So it's like, yeah, go ahead and do it. So started learning Visual Basic and whatnot, and created a small scale ERP system where it knew what parts were being consumed, what is the rate of consumption, blah 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 blah. And it grew in the next following 4 years, and the entire company was using my ERP system, right? So that those kind of things that was there. And the second thing I wanted to do is, as I move along in the career, so my entire company, we were serving communication industry, industrial equipment, and cell phone industry example, right? We are semiconductors for, giving chips. And the entire company wanted to go to automotive standard, right? Which is, if there is a cell phone that goes wrong, you throw and get a new one. But if when it's in a car, it's much more expensive, right? And so you have to improve the entire quality standards of the company. So, my company chose me as the lead to say, hey, can you do that? Right? So think about this. There are 4,000 employees. It's a $2 billion company, management everywhere. Everybody is a ego. So how do you steer them, to go into that thing, of changing the entire quality mindset? You cannot throw money at it. Everybody has to believe in it, right? So, I worked on it for 3 years myself. And, I was able to get, companies like BMW, Toyota, Hyundai, they all came in and then said, this is one of the best places that we want to have businesses with, right? So that are the things that gave me a real, um, um, you know, not spark, I mean, a real confidence, and I can do things that, major companies do by myself, right? So those are the things that gave me the confidence, saying that if I want to be an entrepreneur someday, I can bank on these things to do it, right? And the reason why I started this company, as you said, I was in the University of Chicago, and, um, we were doing a homework. And one of the homework was that, hey, construct a portfolio of, how to invest for a 40-year-old man with certain risk characteristics. And that was the homework to turn in. Yeah, smart as me, right? So what I did was hey, how do I get access to all the 30,000 mutual funds there? Why only 5 funds that you gave me? Yahoo Finance, I can do a thing saying download, this fund, the returns for the last 5 years, download. So I can download for all 30,000 funds, right? So now I wrote a small, again, Visual Basic and, Excel macros and all that, and say, choose whatever funds you want. And based on the characteristics and all that, it'll build a portfolio. And then, that was it. I was just thought it was cute. So the professor saw that and said, why don't you make it into a business? And I was like, yeah, you think that nobody else has done this? And then he said, yeah, there's only one other company that does that. And there's nobody else. And they are charging an arm and a leg for this, right? Why don't you make it into something like that? Then I started looking, oh, really? Most of the guys, or at least 85% of the people, do it manually, building portfolio for people. So why not make it into something that can be done via technology? Mm-hmm. That's when the spark came. I can do this, and there's the competition does not have this kind of capability, right? Why can't I not do that? So I started this company, Kinetic, and we have an algorithm that builds people's portfolio based on any funds. And here we are. So that is a long version of where I came from and where I am today, but I just want to give a background.
No, I mean, that's fair, right? Like, not every entrepreneur has the same beginning, like you said. The people start in different parts of the. But at the end of the day, if I summarize it for you, you were a builder basically, or you like solving problems, and you like to build systems to solve problems instead of, you saw a problem like when you were at work was a manual workaround of people. It's just not, there was an inefficiency in the system.
Right.
Software to fix it. As an engineer, I think that's the logical thing we all think about, right? So now, like, financial management is one of the weakest across the world, right? Even in the United States, there are a lot of people who don't understand finance. So one way to go about could be to try to teach them that, which is almost impossible, or make the decision process more automated. So you saw a problem and you found a solution. And I think that's a key takeaway, because a lot of entrepreneurs have an idea and they're so married to the idea, they don't even worry about what problem is solving, or which target market they're solving the problem for. And they have this amazing idea, $1 million idea, but I really don't know who my customer is. I don't know how to sell it. So I think you came up about it the right way, where you saw a problem and then your solution was a great fit for it. And now you're building a business to help it. And people like me who've had 401ks for, I feel like, 20 years now, but never really manage it the most efficient way. I said, okay,
right. Absolutely. So it is, for me, entrepreneurs are always looking for product market fit, right? I mean, how, I have a product and there is a market, and how do I fit, right? And it naturally came to me, right? I mean, it's like, okay, I have built something I didn't even know there was there, and then there was a market opportunity there. And now that I have those two, how do I marry them, and how do I, we call it in, business school, how do we extract value,
Mhm.
right? How do you get, extract value of it? And the technology portion of it, and everybody can go to a roadside advisor and get the portfolio and pay $300. The way the technology solves it, like, you can get the same advice for $10, right? And that is the real disruption that I wanted to bring, based on this idea.
Absolutely. And then that's absolutely fair, right? Even if you go talk to the advisors, most of them have follow like things they've done 20 years ago. They ask them, hey, how they don't make any changes based on the context, or they just have a feels like they have a formula that they taught either from their company that they work for, and they apply it across the board. There's no customization based on your risk, where you are in your life, your risk, your other things that goes in,
Right,
right?
right.
So,
And
and then they pay a lot, they charge you a lot too
exactly,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, I did quite a bit of market study. I mean, I didn't jump into it, with the idea and the market, right? I have I had a financial advisor, so I spoke to them. Hey, how do you build the portfolio? He's like, we put this into this computer here, and then we ask you question, we put it into it. There is this central processing unit in St. Louis, Missouri, that kind of does this, churns it, and then shows this, and then we said give it to you. And so I asked him, what do you do? I mean, and he frankly said, we are basically salespeople, and we know how to talk, right? I
Take
mean,
the money.
I'm not saying every advisor is like that, but
Well, I'm gonna
majority,
say majority of them should be
yeah, they
probably
are
the same way.
salespeople. They are not building portfolios for you. There is something behind it that builds the portfolio, and you're just paying a lot of money just to see a person. And if I may add another one, right? You know, the technology has disrupted a lot of things, and we have, the prices of a lot of things that we used to pay have come, right? You might have seen these commercials, right? I don't want to name those guys, the people that from Boston that they say, hey, we will change your retirement. Or there is a company, out of Denver that says that, hey, there is a straight line. If you follow this, you will go to the, retirement, right? You know, we people are, at least Americans, we can fix our cars. We can fix our homes. We can do a lot of things. But to say that you cannot do a financial planning yourself, come to us. We are going to charge you $1,000, and I'm going to show you a shiny thing here, right? That those are the, that is where I saw the disruption. It's like, that is exactly where I saw the disruption.
And I think there's a valid point just to wrap this up. This point is you have to absolutely see a problem that might have a solution, but is super expensive, not accessible to the masses. And your solution has made it, it's $10 a month. It's made it easy for anybody, regardless of what size portfolio. That's another big thing, right?
Right.
My 401k is not big enough, so I can't even talk to an advisor. So these kind of just like lays around. And one of your biggest assets that you can actually make money with is, or for your retirement, is
Exactly.
not really being managed properly, right? So that's really, it's a great value that you're adding. So thank you for explaining that to us. So moving on to the next part, what I want to understand is all entrepreneur journeys have ups and downs, and I'm pretty sure you had it too. So talk to me about a time that didn't go well, like when how you plan. How do you come over it? Because a lot of entrepreneurs give up on the first sight of an issue. It didn't work according to their plan. I can guarantee you, as somebody who's run about 6 companies, every plan that you have will absolutely be shattered as soon as you start working on it, right?
Yeah.
It's good to have a plan, but the most important thing is as soon as you fail, realize why it failed and adjust your plan. If you're gonna, if you give up or you say no, I don't accept this failure, I'm gonna keep continue doing the same stuff that went wrong again. Those are two absolutely certain ways that you're gonna fail, right? So I
Right.
want to make sure you talk through, there was ups and downs. You're, I know, early in the career, but you might have. I want you to walk the audience through a little bit more about you had an idea. You saw a market fit, you did a lot of research, but then what happened? Like, how do you make it with?
Exactly, yeah. So as an entrepreneur, you go through a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. Okay. This is going to be a slightly longer answer because
Mhm.
I have been through a lot of these, right? But as a top line, you would think that, okay, there's going to be good news, good days, bad days, right? Very true. But there are a lot fewer good days and lot of more bad days. The good news stays much shorter and bad news stays much longer. So you better come prepared. Okay, you better come prepared. So when I started this, I've been through a lot of these things. So where does I mean, everybody has know the chasm, right? You
Mhm.
are in the chasm and you have to jump the chasm to go to the other side so that you are more profitable and all that. And we are well in the middle of the chasm. We are very, very young ones, right? So when I started the company, so I created this algorithm that can do it, and then I was pitching to a lot of 401k companies, right? I mean, like the Fidelities, there are
Mhm.
like 400, 500 of them, right? I was pitching to them saying, hey, this is a great thing for your customer, your participants, can I come in? Right? And I was shunned, like, we don't want any innovation in this space because 401k is a cash cow, right? We don't want any innovation in the space. So I would go to I would go to New York, I would go to Milwaukee, I would go to Dallas, I would go to several places. I would go present, and hey, this is what we want and I want to do it. So at those the time I also didn't have money. I'm paying everything from my own pocket, right? So as I was presenting that, and one of the good news has happened is that one of the associations that is in Chicago. Chicago is an association capital, like American Medical Association, Osteopathic Association, Lawyers Association, whatnot. And they said that, hey, do you want to build this product for our members? Right? This seems like a cool one, right? So I said, I can do it, but I never thought of doing this as a direct to customer B2C, app or website. I never thought of it like that. But they're giving money, right? So what do? You accept it. Then there's the new challenge. As I said, I have done wonderful work, in my previous companies and all that, but never had a B2C product. So you have to develop, learn quickly, go to classes. How do you do marketing? How do you build a website? What kind of things? Behaviorally, how do you build it? Right? You learn all those things, and you go build it. So that is something that that's one of the good things that happened. And then the second thing that the big thing that happened is that as you get more and more B2C customers, right, now the same guys who are there start noticing it, right? It doesn't, I mean, it's not like it happens in a month. It takes several months for people to notice you, and then they say, hey, now can we have a conversation with you, right? So the couple of biggest technologies that run the 401k, which is the trading, things, the Schwab or FIS or all those, right? So they said, okay, now we get your real value. Okay, can you integrate with us so that you can go be part of the providers? And that is what I'm doing right now. So yeah, you have to have um, the strong will to be, because this is a story of 3 years. Okay, so I gave you two good news in the last 3 years. So the long periods of not so good news is you need to have that strong will, you need to have that perseverance, and you have to have a good spouse who can
Support you, yeah.
support you, right? So
Absolutely. I mean, it's a valid point. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are either misled to believe a couple of things, right? One of them that you said is first thing that was shocking for me is I'll classify as college, but also it almost felt like they were throwing rocks at education, right? Like what you said, you as an entrepreneur, you're always learning. Yes, you don't need a college degree to be successful, but the statistics, and I've been diving in it for the last couple of days, a Forbes 400, I've looked at them for the last 50, however long they've had it, 80% of them have a college degree. So this infatuation, obsession, saying, "Oh, we have Mark Zuckerberg, we have Bill Gates. These guys never, Richard Branson never went to college. They've been successful, so anybody can be, right?" It's a
Uh-huh.
good. Everybody should have a dream. I'm not saying there's a limiting factor for anybody, but what we have to understand is education, and as an entrepreneur you're a lifelong learner. You have to keep up to speed with things, with your business, whether it's technology,
Right.
HR. As your business grows, there's just newer things that come up. 0 to 1 million you'll learn something else. 1 to 10 million will be a completely
Yeah.
different learning, and 10 plus to 100 million, right? So come into, if you want to be an entrepreneur, keep, you have to have the mindset is I'm always learning, I'm always evolving, as one of the top reasons anybody's going to be successful.
Right.
Next thing
So,
is
so the
good.
college degree you just said, right? I mean, Zuckerberg's and Bill Gates, they are not suckers, man. They were in Harvard. Okay, so they are probably extremely smart people who got into college, and they were smarter than college, right? Don't think that college. I mean, you cannot give two examples of people who you got out of the college and say that's them, where there is hundred and maybe millions of people that probably have gone to college and done that, right? I mean, play the averages correctly, right? If you are that kind of a person, you probably are not listening to this podcast, right?
I mean, we
You
don't, I mean, the truth is we
exactly.
don't, yeah, we don't want them to. The reason is, if you, entrepreneurship is not easy. And I know a lot of people, gurus and influencers, who are sharing this news saying you're just one course away from being a millionaire. You may be one course away from, you buying one course away from them being a
Them
millionaire,
being a
not you.
millionaire, exactly.
So that is reality, right? So I feel like every time I went to a marketing conference, amazing people, so much energy, so much hope and aspirations, but a lot of crap being sold, saying, "Oh, I made $1 million." Everybody's talking top line. They're talking about revenue. I made $1 million, but nobody talks about how much it cost them to get there, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I could spend $1 million in ads and give away product, whatever I have to, and make $1 million. If it's, then I can say I made $1 million, so everybody follow me. So there's a lot of shady practices, and I really wanted to shed some light on it. Is next time you talk to somebody who says I made $1 million, ask them what the profit was. If they're really not making a lot of profit, a high margin, those are the things you get clarity when you have a good education, or at least a good
Exactly.
knowledge about what you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah, and probably if I may add, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you asked it, right? And what is the profit that I make?
Mm-hmm.
You should have probably asked. My gross margins are 78, 79%, right? So, you know that I would not get into a business with a gross margin less than 10% on, if it's a retail industry gross margin or
Correct.
marketing industry gross margin, right? If there's volume is more important. But I'm just saying my gross margin is greater than 70%, right? So that is
That's good.
very, very, very key. That is why you need the school. That is why you need the colleges or courses that tell you that if the gross margins are higher, your probability of you being more successful is higher as well.
Absolutely. I think so. To me, right, I've done my, there's a lot you learn from school, a lot of theory, but you also learn a lot running a business. So I
Yeah.
think you have to marry those two to be able to be a successful entrepreneur. I can guarantee you, just learning from school is not going to get you there, because, like Ram was saying, you absolutely have to have a thick skin, because there will be highs and lows, and sometimes when you're starting out, the lows will look a lot more gloomier than the highs, right? Then everybody goes through the transformation process. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, if you're not having fun with what you're doing, you are not going to make it. And I want to be very honest with our audience, saying that as long as there's a vision and you have a framework, you either have a support structure, it could be a family, it could be a mentor, it could be a community. You absolutely need all this to be successful. Being an
Exactly.
entrepreneur is a very lonely game,
Mhm.
and not having this could only make things a lot harder for you.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll make you quit faster than you should, and you shouldn't be quitting.
Correct. So
Yeah,
we're not trying to discourage people here. We just want to make sure you're not getting carried away with it. I'm not saying you should not have a dream or aspiration to be the richest man in the world, but what are you doing for about it, right?
right.
That's one of the things that Ram and I talked about earlier. Was a lot of people are wed on the idea, and they think an idea is what's going to make them rich. I'll guarantee you, almost I've not heard a unique idea in a long time. I don't think you will. Everybody, the people who are going to be successful versus who are not, the people who can execute on an idea. And I know Ram has some thoughts on it. So let's talk about it because that's a very important thing. And every time I go to India, I talk to hundreds of entrepreneurs and I'm doing surveys, online surveys. I just talked about a 300 cohort of people, entrepreneurs in India to understand what they want. And I get a very consistent message saying, hey, if only I had capital, I'm going to be successful and have
Right.
this amazing idea. So let's talk a little bit about it from your experience. What do you think about that?
So you just hit on the point. Make sure you have a support system, right? If you're married, make sure that your spouse, your wife, your husband, they are able, they are willing to support you, through this journey, right? I mean, they have to support you either financially, emotionally, or both. In my case, my supported both, right? I mean,
For now, I'm sorry.
hopefully for now. Either I become rich or she leaves me, right? No, let's
Yes.
not go there.
Very clear
That's a different show.
outcomes out of this.
That's a different show. Okay, so that is the important thing. Have your support structure. The second thing, the most important thing is product market fit. Or most important is what is your product? Like, okay, you have an idea. That's fantastic. That's where everything starts. But, immediately you have to think about is, who are the players there? Who are the big competition? If you're making ketchup, right? I mean, are you looking at, Heinz and, whatnot, and see, why is my ketchup better than those guys, right?
Mhm.
Is it Jeff Bezos says it all the time, right? It has to be faster than the competition. Say it is 50% faster than the competition, or it is cheaper by 30%, right? Or the quality of the product is better by 50%. Be quantitative here. This is not the place where you're going to say, hey, I can outwork my competition. We are so cooler. We are a startup, and I can develop a faster product. No, 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 no. That's for a different time, right? The product has to be quantitatively better than the competition. Again, I'm telling you, if you have a product that the world has not seen, great, but you're not listening. You're not our audience, right? I mean, you're going to be a multi-billionaire, right? And the second thing, the most important thing, execution, 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 right? Ideas are not startups. Okay. Execution makes the startups. The founders, right? Entrepreneurs. If you're young, or if you are middle-aged, ask yourself this: what have you done that you are so proud of in the world that you are going to completely replicate in your new startup, right? What have you done? It's not being, I led a team, I was part of a team that created something. No, 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 no. What you did that made a huge difference in your company, in your life, or your community. Something has to be you that you have done. The past, whatever you did in the past predicts the future better. And if you are that person, you probably are, should be an entrepreneur. And if you're not the person, get a guy who can do that. Okay, get someone that is going to move mountains, and he has moved mountains in his past, right? That is the one. Three, cash. Cash, cash, cash. Most startup die because of cash, because they run out of cash. And I just cannot tell you how much cash you need. But entrepreneur, you should ask that question for yourself, right? How much money do I have? I am burning, $5,000 per month. I have $50,000 in my bank, right? Will it last 6 months? Ask the question this. Ask 6 months. And this is one of the advice that one of my really, really good friends, he was an entrepreneur. He's not anymore. He gave me saying that, hey, when you do your projections, graphs and all that beautiful, he gave me a rule of thumb saying that, I do not tell this to anyone. And, this podcast is the first place it's coming out publicly. It says there's two rules: double time rule. What is double time? Simple. I can get this product out in 3 months, right? Double the time. It's going to come out only in 6 months. Your projection says I'm going to make $100,000 this year. Divided by 4. It's a quarter rule. You're only going to make $25,000 this month, or this year, right? So plan your cash accordingly, right? I mean, you will have great goals. the market is not easy. The market is going to beat you up, spit you out, but you should be ready for that. That's why the cash is most important, right? So always cash is the one that kills startup. Make sure you have cash. So, product, execution, cash. Product, execution, cash. If you have all the three and a good wife like I do, please enter.
No, that's very good feedback, right? I can tell you from my personal experience how important this is because as a younger entrepreneur, I was obsessed with product ideas. I've made a lot of businesses where almost became like a hobby business. We were making money, but we're not really significant money.
Yeah.
That's one side, right? On the other side is uh, it was a great new idea. We started. Main thing is what I didn't focus on was it was a basically a brick and mortar location. So I focused a lot on customer service and education. And I thought if I did that, they're going to talk to more people. Then people are just going to be lining out of the door, right? What I did not pay attention to is cash. Exactly what Ram said.
Yeah.
So what happened was I ran through all my savings. Then I had to go take a loan, and then I had to get a business partner because you. So if you step back and I had to redo that business again, the first thing I would have done is what kind of sales, what kind of forecast, what do I need to do right from the employees? The employees I hired, I really did focus on if they were good people, good customer service, good operations. Sales was the last skill I looked for. As soon as I changed that, I started hiring more salespeople who were doing good, better with sales, and customer service is good, but not spectacular, but it helped my cash flow. I was able to pay the rent, their salaries. It completely transformed the business. So if you don't, as a startup, focus on cash and what are the expenses, that is a sure shot way for you to shut down shop,
Yeah.
right? And then
Cash, running out of cash 100% kills you, right? Execution will kill you sometimes, product will kill you most of the times, or other way around. Cash will kill you 100% of the time. Yeah. Yeah.
right. And I think that's what you need to realize is, and I think that's what I think that's what people always start with. If I had the money, I'll do it, right? So nobody's going to give you money without you having a viable product. The investors are getting smarter. Maybe your mom, maybe your relatives might be willing to give you money without a product. But if you don't have a minimum viable product, you don't have even one sale, and you don't have like validation customers or even pre-orders from it, I can guarantee you, why would you give money? I can guarantee you won't give money to another person without all this being done. So why
Exactly.
would
Yeah.
and if you can't if you haven't shown, you might be able to get money like you've done this business before, right? You've done a business, you've IPO'd, now you cashed out. Now you say, hey, I'm going to start another idea. You have a background, then yes, here's your money because of already have a track record.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
For a
Yeah.
brand new person, without you making a single sale, having a good product fit, or showing executing on a minimum if you don't do all that, it doesn't matter if I give you $10 million. I can guarantee you, you're going to last as long as that $10 million spending is going to happen, and I'm not going to get a dollar back from it. So I want to make sure you understand that the 3 points Ram said was product, execution, and cash are essential for any entrepreneur. If you lose focus on those three things, you might as well just shut down your door and walk away, right? So that's great feedback. So Ram, I want to be aware of your time too. So let's talk about, you've already given really great advice to our entrepreneurs, right? So, but if there's, what are your future goals for your company? And so let's start with that. What are the future goals for company? And then if our audience wants to follow you and your company and your growth and learn from your journey, how can they do that?
So, thank you. Right. My future goals are, as an entrepreneur or as a founder, you cannot have many goals. Okay, you cannot have many goals. You have one or two goals, and then you go at it as hard as you can. So my goal is that, once I finish my integrations with the 401k technologies, right, I'm probably going to go and there are 300 to 400 providers, right? Business develop, go
Mhm.
and try to become in their system so that I can start, getting more customers into my thing. So this is kind of a distribution. If you're speaking, business wise, this is the distribution channel that I'm developing. So my goal is to have 10 to 20 providers in the next 6 months, and let's put the rule there, which means double the time, right? It's going to take me 12 months, and quarter the value, so it's going to be 2 to 3 providers, right? So that is the reality, even though my goal is 10 to 20, and I should have cash for that kind of a thing, right? So that is my immediate future goal. So always, right, have one thing that you do. You're going to be pulled in different direction, but your goal should be one. This is what I'm doing, and this is what, and my goal is to make sure that I have these 401k providers.
Absolutely. I think as an entrepreneur, you're so keen on the shiny object syndrome. There's always opportunity everywhere. And yeah, I'm completely in the same bucket as I think my wife, and now I have some frameworks to keep me focused. But usually you're doing something and somebody brings in, oh, you're doing this. Why don't you do this? Is related to you. And then you end up doing two things really bad. So make sure the clarity and focus really is one of the key mindsets that as an entrepreneur you need to have to move forward, right? If you don't have that, if you don't have a vision, you're going to have a hard time moving your company faster. I'm not saying you won't get there. Just what the whole intent of this conversation that we're having with you guys is to, how do you shortcut your path to success, right? If I was going to give this information to me 20 years ago, my career trajectory would have been completely different.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to have that, learn from us, and make sure you don't make the mistakes that we did, or I won't even say mistakes. Make sure you have frameworks to make decisions that helps you shortcut your path. It could be a year, it could be 5 years. You could save 10 years of your career as an entrepreneur if you pay attention to some of the things they'll be telling you.
Yeah, be relentless, right? That
Is
is
that
that is
what? Maybe
that is
that's
the
a good
model.
segue to my next thing. What is your number one thing that has gotten you this far in your company?
Thank you. That's exactly relentless. Um, uh, you become completely maniacal, in pursuit of that, right? You do cool things, like you write algorithms, maintain website apps, you're integrating with technologies, business development, meeting, lunches, dinners, cool things, these are all happening as you're doing. Also you're doing, website for certificate expiring, you have to do it, fill taxes, Delaware is asking for a new certificate, manage payroll, answer customer calls, they call me, right? Run advertisement pitches or write proposals, pay bills. AT&T is charging me too much. Could call them and say, hey, why did you charge so much? You do that, right? Ask for a lower price, and ultimately you're sweeping, your own office floor, and you're also a peon for your office. Those are also part of your a CEO, right? So you are going to be do all these things, you're going to come out, whether you're successful or not, if you do this the right way, you're going to come out a person that it's completely going to have the tools to change the world or change the company that you're going to either found again, or you're going to work for, right? Be relentless, guys. That is execution. I cannot say enough about that.
Absolutely. I can't, I don't have to say anything else to say. I agree with you. And what is the best way for our audience to follow you?
Yeah, they can go to my website, kineticwealth.com, KINETIK wealth.com. Or you can follow me in my LinkedIn, the LinkedIn profile, I'm sure you're going to show there. Right. So please drop in an email or whatever that you can through, through LinkedIn, and I would be happy to respond to you.
I really appreciate it. I'm going to put both the links in the video so everybody can follow your journey, because that's the fastest way for success, is following people in front of you and modeling the behavior and what we've done and avoiding what he's telling you to avoid, right? So Ram, thank you again for your time. I know you're a busy man with your family time. Thanks for taking time away from them and sharing with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Perfect. All right, guys. I will talk to you all the next time, and make sure you. I hope you all took a lot of good notes from it. Make sure you follow this, and let's get you closer to your dream. Thank you.